Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this NTNU annual conference titled Knowledge for a Better World, the Need for Sustainability and Collaboration in a Disruptive Age. This conference is organized in partnership with Elsevier and Unilion. My name is Marilyn Fiaschi. I am the Managing Director of Science Business. For those who don't know, Science Business is a news and communications company specialized in research and innovation policy. As the EU is entering a new 7-year budget cycle and with it revamped version of its framework program for research and innovation and of its ERASMUS program, today we will look at how universities contribute in terms of research, innovation and education to sustainable development and to achieving the Green Deal, so an ambitious objective. And in fact, this online conference is going to be twofold. In the first part, we will look at the role of universities in research and innovation ecosystems to address specific SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, that are those SDGs that are directly relevant in the context of the European Green Deal. And then in the second part of the conference, we will put the spotlight on European university networks and look at how those European universities can be efficient vehicles to increase the impact of collaborative efforts across Europe in addressing sustainability and European competitiveness. And throughout the debates, representatives from the European Commission and universities will showcase current case studies, discuss what works and what doesn't work yet, at least, with one common goal, that is to define models and approaches that could be applied in the future. But to set the scene, I give the floor to Anne Borg, who is the rector of NTNU. But before I do that, just a practical detail. If you want to tweet about this conference, you're very welcome to do so. You are in very high numbers today with us, and the number will certainly increase throughout the conference since there are close to 1,000 people registered. And so there is a dedicated hashtag that you can use that is knowledge for EU, and I'll ask my colleagues to put it in the chat so that you can all have it. So that's enough for me as a start. Anna, if you're with us, can you please come in now? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear Mrs. Signe Ratzo, dear fellow organizers Elsevier and Unilion, dear colleagues from partner universities, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2020 edition of the NTNU European Conference, even though it's already 2021. But we are delighted to welcome you yet again to our annual European Conference, this time due to the pandemic on a digital platform. Never has collaboration been more important than at this exact moment in history. Collaboration between nations, cultures, and people. Collaboration between societal sectors. And what we are going to discuss today, collaboration within the knowledge sector. In the global knowledge system, cooperation is key. Universities are key actors. Collaboration and alignment between universities is imperative, as is collaboration between academia and society at large. Also, sustainability has never been more important to mankind. Yes, to all species. We have come a long way since Gro Harlem Brundtland, former Norwegian Prime Minister in 1987, launched the concept of sustainability in the UN report, Our Common Future. Now it's all about putting action between the political goals and for the global community to achieve sustainability in all areas of society. Both collaboration and sustainability are at the core of the European research area at the core of the new European framework programs for research, innovation, and education, Horizon Europe and Erasmus+. Knowledge is key in finding answers, finding solutions that contribute to a more sustainable planet for inhabitants and nature. And in all this, we need basic research, which is the foundation for all knowledge production. We need thematic and strategy research targeted at finding solutions to challenges that we are facing. We need knowledge-intensive industry that can make innovations from research results. We need people with knowledge and skills, and we need a public sector able to put the innovations at use for its citizens. ERA and the framework programs should encompass all of this. We need to make the knowledge value chain work, starting with the students and ending with the market suppliers and eventually the citizens. Most universities around the world are underlining the UN SDGs in their strategies and priorities. But I think Horizon Europe and Erasmus+, the world's largest research, innovation, and education programs, provide the opportunity to put force behind the political goals by compelling every project to explicitly reflect upon how it will contribute to sustainability and prioritize and fund the ones that are mature about it and can show concrete plans in action. Ursula von der Leyen's Green Deal is the most forceful climate project ever launched. The ambition for Europe to be climate neutral by 2050. As a consequence, a rather large part of the budget of Horizon Europe will be invested in this direction. Timely, I think. At NTNU, we are currently preparing proposals for the first Green Deal call, and I'm very happy that our researchers are leading or participating in more than 40 proposals. We see that a cross-disciplinary approach is required and strongly needed to answer the challenges. And I think that the mission-oriented approach guiding the future research and innovation program in implementations by putting the problem or challenge at the center, establishing a portfolio of projects around it, from basic research projects to high TRL innovation projects, to find sustainable solutions, represents the ideal way to go. All of this is reinforced by embedding education in a coordinated and effective way to also ensure the continuous creation of the necessary knowledge and professional profiles that will keep this development progressing. To me, these concerted efforts seems to be the right way forward. NTNU strongly supports the targets and objectives of the ERA and EEA and is eager to contribute through a committed participation in the European framework programs, as stated in our strategy and international action plan. This is not about funding, but the opportunities the programs give for cooperation in important projects together with scientists, industry, public sector, and user groups in cross-disciplinary and cross-sectorial consortia to find sustainable solutions. On this playground, NTNU will contribute to keep Europe among the global leaders in research, innovation, and education. My hope for all of us is to be able to come together across disciplines, across universities, across sectors, and across countries within the framework of ERA, EEA, and the new framework programs to make knowledge for a better world. Enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I think you've touched upon pretty much all the points that we'll cover today. So very good a curtain raiser. Perfect. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kumsal Bayazid. She's the Chief Executive Officer at Elsevier. And I'll now give you the floor for introductory remarks. Kumsal, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. And good morning, everyone. I am representing Elsevier, a leading publisher of scientific and medical research and an analytics company headquartered in Amsterdam. It's a pleasure to be here today and to partner with NTNU and Unilion in our shared commitment to advance the European research agenda. The pandemic is having a devastating effect around the world. It is also underlining the following principles for research. One, there's a critical link between research and evidence-based effective policy development. Second, collaboration, whether international, interdisciplinary, or academic corporate collaboration, leads to higher quality and more impactful research. And third, inclusion and diversity drive better research outcomes, whether that's Turkish immigrants in Germany playing a key role in the development of a vaccine, or a clinical trial's gender makeup delivering better clinical insights. As a member of the broader research community, we at Elsevier are committed to work in partnership with universities to support a new European research area and the Green Deal vision. In particular, an open flow of knowledge, greater inclusion and diversity in research, and strategic collaboration across disciplines and all stakeholders in innovation, so that Europe continues to play a leading role globally in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. The SDG 2030 targets are extremely ambitious, especially with the pandemic setting us back. Now, more than ever, we need open and focused cooperation between science, policy, and society to ensure that research results are translated into concrete action based on quality data and insights. Elsevier's data science teams have been collaborating with universities to analyze the ever-growing body of scientific knowledge through the Sustainable Development Goals lens, looking for key insights to improve progress. The analysis shows that over the last 5 years, research is expanding fastest in clean energy and climate action, driven by strong academic corporate collaboration, which indicates rapid transition to policy and application. It also shows we need more interdisciplinary collaboration across different areas of SDG research, as well as a more holistic and inclusive approach regarding sex, gender, and nationality dimensions. The data gathered from Unilion member universities provide good insights on research strengths in Europe and best models for tackling the most pressing challenges. The 3 O's introduced by the European Commission in 2015 continue to guide research and innovation in Europe. My colleague Federica Rosetta will use that lens when sharing the insights that we have gathered later today. Open innovation. It's remarkable that Europe leads among the top 10 countries globally on corporate academic collaborations on affordable and clean energy. What successful models of collaborations can be tracked behind these numbers? What can we learn from these countries? Open science. It is reassuring to see a high level of interdisciplinary research exchange on sustainable cities and communities, which is fundamental for building resilient societies. Also, Europe is leading in open access to research. And open to the world. The leading position of Europe on collaborations around climate action on a global scale is a great example on how research should be open to the world. As we all know, the quality of research and innovation is dependent on talent. And I strongly endorse the ERA priorities on mobility, gender, and cooperation, which will strengthen the competitive differentiation of European research globally. My colleague Leslie Thompson will talk more about the people aspects of research and innovation, at the heart of which lies inclusion and diversity. It's encouraging to see this as a shared priority for all the actors in the research community, for the European Union, universities, funders, publishers, and corporations. In that regard, Europe sets a great example with Horizon Europe, ERASMUS, and European Universities initiatives. To close, I'm delighted to be part of this pan-European meeting, and I thank again our partners NTNU and Unilion. And now it's my pleasure to hand it back over to Marilyn for Alexandru. Thank you.
Thank you, Kumsal. And we look forward twice during this conference to hear more about the data that your colleague at Elsevier have analyzed for us. And without further ado, the third partner, Unilion. So I'll hand over to Alexandru Marchis. You're the chair of Unilion, and I should probably say that Unilion stands for Universities Informal Liaison Offices Network. Alexandru, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marilyn, for that introduction. Warm welcome from my side as well. And I would like to start with words which might be better suited at the end of the event, but allow me to thank Professor Anne Borg and Mrs. Kumsal Bayazid for their support and collaboration for the preparation of this very important event, and to praise the work of my colleagues Massimo Busoli and Federica Rosetta for their involvement in the development of the conference. That being said, to the content of the conference, the topic of the Sustainable Development Goals is a recurrent theme with universities. Is not something that it's out of the blue. Universities are involved and engaged at local and national level in the debates on the Sustainable Development Goals, and they are participating in different platforms and initiatives we know very well. But moreover, I think universities have gone a step forward, and they have internalized the Sustainable Development Goals, and they have established for themselves, for their organizations, targets and objectives. But from time to time, I think it's a good practice that we take a step back and we see how do we perform, and we analyze if we are providing what is expected from universities to the broader ecosystem. Moreover than that, I think it's important not only if we perform, but how do we do it? Because as we know, there are many ways to skin a cat, if you allow me. So there is no one-fits-all approach that works for everybody, and there are many good strategies to get involved, and it is within the spirit of our network, within the spirit of Unilion, that we exchange good practices and we discuss and we seek cooperation to learn from each other and to better ourselves, if you want. All these aspects related to SDGs are not only for the global agenda relevant, they are obviously relevant for the European agenda, for the European policies. European policies are connected to the SDGs, are in sync with the SDGs, but we also know that European policies have European ambitions. So if we look at the European research area and the European education area strategies, they aim to transform our academic environment and deliver a robust scientifically based sector for the benefit of our society. So we will start today our analysis from the global goals, and we will look at how the EU policy, the approach that was already mentioned by the previous speaker on open innovation, open science, and open to the world, how it has helped universities making a contribution. But we aim to look into the future. Obviously, that's our main objective, to look into the future and see how to position our universities, our institutions in the next policy frameworks. Before giving back the floor to you, Marilyn, allow me just to leave you with the thoughts of renowned physicist Henry Kande, a Romanian physicist who was also the inventor of the jet engine. In an interview talking about research and innovation, he was saying that humankind is like a lonely person rowing in a boat. We are always seeing the past, and not being really able to see the future. But if we put at the helm of the boat somebody who from time to time peeks around and takes a glance into the future, that person is the inventor who is going to bring us closer to the objective. So with that in mind, back to you, Marlene. I'm looking forward to very interesting discussions today.
Thank you, Alexandru. We are now going to introduce the first session that looks at research models towards a renewed era, European research area, and in the context of the post-COVID recovery through the lens of sustainability and the Green Deal. And to do that, I'd like to welcome Signe Razzo. She's the Deputy Director General at DG Research and Innovation in the European Commission. And Signe, where do we stand? What can we expect for the future, for the coming months and years? Over to you, Signe. Welcome.
Well, many thanks, Marilyn. Dear Rector Borg, dear Ms. Bayazid, Mr. Marches, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I represent here today the European Commission and DG Research and Innovation at this European Conference and NTNU, which this time also includes other partners and is really pan-European. Let me just say a couple of words by means of introduction. Europe faces deep societal, ecological, and economic challenges, such as those related to health and climate change, aggravated by the coronavirus crisis. The current crisis provides a unique opportunity for Europe to make its societal and economic recovery truly transformative through research and innovation. And this is essential to drive Europe's green and digital transformation, to strengthen its resilience and preparedness to face future crises, and also supports Europe's competitive edge in the global race for knowledge. Now, to face the pandemic and to push forward the twin transitions, the European Commission has proposed an ambitious recovery package to build a more sustainable, resilient, and fairer Europe. The European Green Deal is the new EU growth strategy. With the European Green Deal, we are looking beyond the current policy and investment cycle to a time horizon of 2050, by which time we aim to achieve climate neutrality in Europe. Last December, EU leaders agreed on an EU-wide goal of cutting net greenhouse gas emissions by 50-50 by 2030. The European Commission has also designed a temporary recovery instrument, the so-called Next Generation EU, which will amount to 750 billion euros and will allow to raise funds on the capital market. This post-COVID-19 recovery program will create jobs, new capabilities, and well-being spread across the EU. Research and innovation are dispensable for both, delivering on Europe's recovery and making Europe's green and digital transformations a reality. With our next program, Horizon Europe, research and innovation will really be front and center to deliver on our objectives and fast forwarding us towards a green, digital, and resilient future. And the budget of Horizon Europe will be nearly 100 billion euros, that is 95.5 billion. But I believe it is not only a matter of more research and innovation investments. The transformation of Europe's society and economy also requires some prioritization of research and innovation investments, both at national but also at EU level. And we have taken important steps in this direction. Horizon Europe will mobilize resources to speed up transitions through missions and partnerships. We have also proposed that Horizon Europe contains an overall 35% funding target for climate change. And under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, at least 37% of the funding must support the green transition and 20% the digital transition. Yet we know that further efforts are needed. And this is why last September, the European Commission adopted a communication outlining our vision for a renewed European research area that will promote an environment for research and innovation that is up to the times. And the communication proposes a number of actions. Let me just mention a few of them. Its first objective is prioritizing investments, which will clearly help to increase the pace of twin transitions. It proposes to keep the 3% GDP research and innovation investment target, to maintain our ambitions, and to qualify the target to reflect the twin transitions. The Commission has also proposed a new EU 1.25% GDP public effort target to be achieved by member states by 2030 in a coordinated manner. And it also proposes member states to voluntarily commit 5% of national public research and development funding to joint programs and European partnerships by 2030. Now, within the new research area, we also set out a new approach to industrial innovation, supporting the new EU industrial strategy, which jointly with stakeholders, member states, we want to develop common industrial technology roadmaps by the end of 2022 already, namely to align and link key partnerships on the Horizon Europe with industrial ecosystems. Another core objective of the new era is better to translate research innovation results into the economy. And with this revamped research innovation toolbox, we believe that we can help accelerating Europe's green digital transformation, but also strengthen Europe's resilience and preparedness to face future crises. Now, as we are discussing also the role of higher education, I'd like to mention that the new era and the new education area, EAA, will clearly need to work together to achieve a new level of ambition in which education, research and innovation are steered in the same direction, namely to underpin knowledge as a foundation for democratic, resilient and inclusive societies. For instance, the new era will strengthen the research innovation dimension of universities through a comprehensive transformation agenda, which needs to be developed together with stakeholders, member states, and in synergy with the European education area. And universities are clearly at the forefront in these efforts, notably with their fourfold mission of education, research, innovation, but also service to society that Director Borg very eloquently also described. And for this to happen, Europe needs a well-functioning, inclusive and powerful research and innovation base. The most vibrant, innovative ecosystems in the world have strong interaction with top quality universities. Higher education sector is among the most dynamic sectors in society, which works at this intersection of European research area and European education area. So they will work together to support universities through what we call higher education transformation agenda. And this is something which would be developed with you, your national governments, and encompassing also all your missions. When we speak about the universities of the future, they will need to be interconnected, innovative, inclusive, and digital, while also moving towards a greener and sustainable development. They will have to be able to address in a strengthened manner societal challenges such as global health, climate change, but they also need to prepare the students, researchers, innovators that our societies will need. All this will respect for the institutional autonomy and academic freedom. Now, consultation process on this transformation agenda already kicked off at the Education Summit in December, and this will entail open online consultation, expert meetings, and targeted meetings with stakeholder organizations. All of this to happen in the first half of this year. What we want to know is what are the priorities of higher education sector, which member states, but also our associated countries regard transformation efforts towards the future. We want to empower higher education sector to develop common strategies, share capacities, for instance, on attractive research careers, also open science practices. And this should be done also via technology transfer capacity and engaging with citizens and society. Now, the European Universities Pilot Initiative is an excellent example of synergy between the EEAA and ERA. And it will also be a test bed to help with the transformation agendas of universities. As today's event brings together research and scientists from Norway, but also from other EU countries and associated countries, as we could see, let me say a few words about the European Framework for Research Careers, which will constitute one of the actions foreseen in the new ERA communication, and which I think will be extremely important for all of you. Namely, excellent training and career development conditions to attract, retain the best researchers are necessary in the global race for talent. Precarious employment, notably for early career researchers, has not improved adequately over the past years. And it increases the risk that most talented researchers opt for working outside Europe. Therefore, there is the need to make research careers more attractive, more flexible, and also to develop instruments which ensure the recognition of researchers' skills, which allow for targeted training opportunities and enhance mobility and exchanges between academia and industry. And in order to respond to all these needs, the Commission will deliver, in partnership with member states and research organizations, a toolbox to support for research careers. And we welcome very much the Portuguese presidency's initiatives on promoting attractive research careers across Europe. A toolbox that we intend will strengthen research careers across the ERA, and it will include first researchers' competence framework, then a mobility scheme which will support exchange between industry and academia, also targeted training for a continuous development of the skills, and also a one-stop shop portal based on the current EUREX access services. Ladies and gentlemen, people are central to the many challenges and transitions our society faces. The ultimate aim is to empower researchers and European citizens at large with the high-level competencies which are necessary for their personal, social, civic, and professional development in a fast-changing society. Now, as I all say, in DG Research and Innovation, I'm Chief Negotiator for Horizon Europe associations. Let me say a few words about that. Namely, association will key international allies, amplifies our efforts, and accelerates results. The status of associated country offers the closest form of cooperation in research and innovation that exists for non-EU member states, and therefore it complements the means of working on mutual geopolitical interests of the EU and third countries. In this context, international cooperation in research and innovation is instrumental, and we offer association to Horizon Europe not only to allies in the EU's proximity, such as EFTA partners, enlargement and neighbourhood policy countries, as well as the UK, but also to strategic partners beyond Europe's geographical proximity, that have strong capacity and research and innovation. Our cooperation with Norway in the domain of research and innovation is really excellent, as demonstrated by the Norwegian participation in Horizon 2020, which is the second most successful associated country of the program. And the participation of Norwegian organizations is not only remarkable because of its quantity, but because also of its quality. Namely, the overall success rate of Norwegian applicants in collaborative actions is significantly higher than the overall success rate actions across the program. Horizon Europe is focused to find ways to create further synergies and close linkages by realization of missions, such as closer connections, the education policy and research innovation policy, and also where also Norwegian universities have strongly supported Horizon Europe proposal. Similarly, the European Green Deal presents new opportunities for Norway, but also for other associated countries. Its scope also includes the mission areas which are identified in our Horizon Europe proposal. It is in the EU's, but also Europe's as a continent interest that EEA countries continue to be part of the Horizon family and reconduct association to Horizon Europe Framework Programme. And as said, Norway is among the top performing associated countries, and its important partner also in the further development of the European research area and a strong center of excellence in a number of key research areas. It has been a pleasure to be part of this conference and looking forward to very interesting exchanges in the course of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Signe. I wasn't planning to do so, but I actually have just one question for you, just to get it out of the way, since this conference is organized by a Norwegian university. So you've been praising Norway for being such a good student and a good player in Horizon. But just, can you just, in terms of practicalities and technicalities, just can you give us a hint on when do you think the association agreement will be finalized and what it means? Will Norway be able to join the first calls already for under Horizon Europe?
Well, in order to actually launch official negotiations, we need adopted Horizon Europe regulation. You know that at the end of December, the co-legislators find political agreement, but this is not enough for launching official negotiations, which could only happen after the formal adoption. But we very much hope that Norway and also other associated countries will be able to be already be at least already preliminarily a part of the program by the time of the first calls, which will be then in the third quarter of this year. But clearly, for the EAA countries as Norway, this process is much more straightforward. But for some other countries, it may take a bit more time. So there are also differences from that point of view.
Thank you. At least that ticks the box for the Norwegian researchers who were wondering. All right, we're running a little bit late, so we're going to have to now jump to the presentation by Elsevier, the first of the two presentations we'll hear from Elsevier colleagues today. And so we now be joined by Federica Rosetta, who is the Vice President for Academic Research Relations in the EU. And Federica, you're going to talk to us, to give us an analysis of some research based on some research data around 3 specific SDGs. Tell us more.
Yes, thank you, Marilyn, and good morning, everybody. And thanks to NTNU and Unilion for this great collaboration that has brought us here today together. So today I want to show you some data on the rich knowledge the universities provides in terms of SDGs that are very relevant to the Green Deal. Data are meant to show what are the strengths, what are the opportunities, the challenges, and the trends for European research. At the basis, there is the notion that good quality insights can help inform future strategies of universities, but also policy intervention. So I hope today that the data shown really can conduct a good debate and give some food for thought. So starting from our commitment at SDR to advance the decade of action on sustainability, what we have done in the past 5 years, we really focused a lot in trying to understand what is the research behind the SDGs. What we did, we developed an open methodology that you can find on Mendeley using our citation abstract database Scopus. At the beginning, what we created, it's really a search query that we have been also using for the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings in 2019, and again in 2020, when we refined the search query. We don't do this alone, but we really work together with the research community. And in particular, we have strong partnership with a number of universities that are really collaborating with us in this project. And I'm talking about the collaboration with the Aurora University Network, in particular with the VU University, with the University of Southern Denmark, with Auckland Universities. On top of that, what we recently launched, it's also a cross-sourcing project, which asks researchers, but also policymakers or informed citizens, to match the publication to the SDGs. And the result will be used, of course, to validate also the results of the project that we are constantly running together with the universities that I mentioned. So to put things in context, I'd like first to give you a global overview of the SDGs in terms of the volume of publication, which is something that you find on the horizontal axis, compared also to the impact, which is shown here by the vertical axis. You won't see here SDG 3, which is half, because the output is really large and it won't fit within the chart. But what I want to focus your attention is on SDG 7, 13, and 11, the one that are circled. So SDG 7 is affordable and clean energy. SDG 11 is sustainable cities and community, and SDG 13 is climate action. So these are the SDG we have analyzed because, as said before, are also the ones that are closer to the Green Deal. But also because if you look from a European perspective, you will notice that these are the SDGs with a larger output, but also very high important impact. And just to notice, I'm mentioning here EU28 because the data analyzed are data referring to the period 2015-2019. I will also use the 3 O's, open science, open innovation, and open to the world, as a framework, as a lens for this analysis. And then kind of drill a bit more into details using data that we have gathered around some of the universities, part of the Unilion network. And we have chosen the university that has a more significant research value for each SDG. So,
Federica, just sorry for interrupting, but apparently some people in the audience can't hear you very well. Do you mind speaking a little bit louder?
Shall I try? Let me try instead with the
headphones.
With the headphones.
Go ahead.
Is this better?
Much better.
Is this better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I hope you didn't miss so far. But so what I was saying is that indeed I used the 3 O's, so open science, open the world, open to the open innovation, as a framework to further analyze the data on SDGs. So starting from open to the world, what we wanted to look is across these 3 SDGs, which one has the highest level of international collaboration. And so as you can see, it's global, it's goal 13, climate action, which has the highest level of collaboration across the globe. When we look into instead open innovation, so we focus our attention in the academic corporate collaboration, you can see that goal 7, affordable and clean energy, is the SDG that registered the highest amount of industry collaboration, which is actually roughly double compared to the other SDGs. Finally, when looking instead at the amount of shared knowledge as an indicator of open science, what we see here is there are 3 charts that we have created with Saival. Each of those bubbles represents a topic. The bigger the bubble, the more volume in that area. And the closer the bubble to the center of the wheel, also the more interdisciplinary is the work. So you will notice, regardless of the subject areas here, there is quite a lot of activities, interdisciplinary activity in the SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, which is what you like to see also, considering that it's the area where we really want to build the resilient societies of the future. Now, zooming more into each of these SDGs, when it comes to climate action, SDGs 13, what you see here in a comparison with the other countries, it's the incredible prolific contribution of EU 28. US is definitely also a competitor with a higher impact. But I think also what needs to be noticed is that for climate action, being such an important global challenge, we should really focus our attention also on the other countries, Africa in this case, where if you consider the axis, the horizontal axis, where it's seen what is the output in percentage of total research for each country, you notice how much of the research in Africa is dedicated to climate action. So the question is, what type of inclusive models university can put in place or are already putting in place? Now, the interesting thing, if you look at the collaboration in this SDG, is that EU 28 clearly leads in terms of collaboration, with 55.4 of all the research produced in SDG 13 being done on international collaboration level. It's a remarkable metrics to notice. So when we wanted to understand exactly the dynamics around international collaboration, we selected one of the universities part of Unilion. In this case, it's Lund University, because clearly it has shown a very high level international collaboration. So we just saw the EU 28 as a collaboration around 55%. And Lund University, when performing research around this SDG, has a stunning 74.1% of collaboration. And as you can see on the chart on the right, the collaboration is truly, truly global. However, when we zoom instead at the level of which institutions are mostly collaborating with Lund, we see that at the top are many universities in Europe. And interesting enough, these universities are also, the three on the top are also Unilion members. Something that we notice also when we analyze Helsinki being another university with a very good report in terms of international collaboration, which is at 72.9%. And again, looking at the institutions that are collaborating together with Helsinki, you can see that half of the universities are part of Unilion. So I think there is something to be said about the important role of having university networks that can collaborate. Now, moving to the next SDG, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy. What is really, really easy here to see is that on a global scale, when we compare countries, China really has a large volume, which is double that of US and also far ahead of EU 28. Question is, so what does it mean for Europe? You know, where are the interesting collaboration that needs to be found on a global scale here? Because when it comes to collaboration, especially on the level of open innovation, so on the level of corporate academic collaboration, it needs to be said that Europe is leading the way. Amongst the top locations for academic corporate collaboration, the great majority are European countries. You will notice here that Norway has a remarkable 20% of collaboration with corporate in this SDG. So we're not surprised. We wanted to better understand what are the models that are so successful in Norway. So if you can see here, so Norway with a 20% is well ahead of the corporate collaboration with academia that we noticed for EU 28. And remarkably, NTNU, it's even above, as a collaboration at 26.5% for this SDG. The model, it's very clear. The model, it's really based on a very strong partnership with one corporate, which is in this case, SINTEF. If you drill instead much more on the level of the type of topics that are part of the contribution of NTNU on this SDG 7, you will see on the word cloud on the left, all the topics that are produced by NTNU. But on the left side, on the right side, you will see instead the type of topics that are addressed by NTNU together with industry. So what you notice here is that the focus is on a smaller subset of topics, indicating the interest on topics which are most direct path towards industry application. Also notice that in green, you have the topics that are growing, and in blue, the topics that from publication perspective, so from an output perspective, are in declining. We did a similar analysis on Indovet, because Indovet has very high level of collaboration, which is at 19.1%, which is definitely above EU28, but also above the Netherlands. And what we noticed by looking at the chart on the right is that amongst the top 10 collaborators in industry, 6 are Dutch industries. On the top, you see Philips, kind of showing that there is a very strong connection with local R&D, and that the model is really of co-location on a geographical level. Now, moving to the last SDG, which is sustainable cities and communities, you can see how Europe is well positioned in terms of volume of research output. Nonetheless, from a percentage of total research per country, China and Africa are also dedicating a lot of resources on this topic, and US is leading in terms of impact of research. But from an open science perspective, from talking about sharing knowledge across the globe, what can we learn from this SDG? This SDG, if you look at the different bubbles, and I can tell you, in yellow, you see social sciences, in red, it's medicine, health, in green, it's environment, in blue, it's all a shade goes from computer science down to mathematics and engineering. You see that there is a lot of contribution from all the topics, from all the fields to this specific SDG. So when we compare with a specific university amongst those in Lion, and we look at, for instance, the University of Barcelona, you can see on the left the chart for the global overview. And then on the right, this is the contribution on multidisciplinary level of University of Barcelona. You will see that there is quite some contribution from computer science, mathematics in blue. There is some contribution also in red from health, but the real multidisciplinary angle comes from social science and from environment. Now, kind of drilling more into specific, what is interesting, and this is something that could give a good insight to universities, how to scope the right collaboration. What are the topics that are most addressed within this specific field? The last comparison we wanted to do it is by bringing also the attention into a more technical university. So we look, for instance, what is the multidisciplinary contribution of University of Munich? And of course, from a technical university, as we were expecting, we can see there is much more contribution on the level of engineering and computer science, but also environment. So the interesting thing is how the collaboration across universities can really bring a lot of impact and really advance this specific SDG. Now, with this, I conclude. And if you have your app with the QR scanner, I really invite you to download the Power of Data to Advance SDG. Is the latest report we have published on SDGs, and some of the analysis presented today were taken from this report. So I hope the data are going to be useful for the debate which is coming up now. And with that, I wish everybody a good continuation of the event, and thank you very much for the attention. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And you've also formulated very precise questions, so I'll make sure to do them and to address them to the panel. And in fact, to the panel discussion. So, Signe, you're still with us, and with you, we are welcoming three speakers. First of all, Tor Grande, the Pro-Director for Research at NTNU, Arma Sanchez, Director for Research and Transference at Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, and Eric Renström, Director of Lund University, that we just heard about in Federica's presentation. Thank you to the four of you for joining us. As we are running a little bit late, I suggest we push the break to 11:35 instead of 11:30. Right, so we'll extend the panel discussion by 5 minutes. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about, I think what we try to do this panel is really at the role of universities in delivering SDGs with that perspective first, the academic perspective, how universities are contributing to addressing sustainable development goals and therefore contribute to the green transition in Europe. But we also want to hear how the European Commission, especially through Horizon Europe and the European Research Area, can support universities in delivering in this area of sustainable development, right? So just a practical word, we take questions from the audience, and the lucky ones, so all the questions are being monitored through the Q&A in Zoom, not the chat, please, the Q&A, but the lucky ones get graded on video. So just for those asking questions, be ready, but we'll let you know when we upgrade you. All right, so there you go. I can see that we have our four speakers. So I'll first give the floor to the three academic representatives here. So just one very simple question. Sustainability is core to any strategy for any universities across Europe. But to the three of you, do you want just to say a word of introduction of how do you tackle sustainability at the scale of your university? How does that translate into your operations? Who wants to start? Yeah, Eric, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the word. So at Lund University, there's a long history, and not only at Lund University, but in Sweden at large. There has been a strong focus on sustainability in Sweden for many years. And this is also seen as the policies in the public sector. And it was included in the law for higher education in 1992. The industry as well really takes a very active part and has included this in their strategy for a long time already. and not mention the non-governmental organizations. And last but not least, Greta Thunberg, of course. She has really made a fantastic impact. As to academic research, there are several research funding bodies that focus on sustainability. We have FORMAS, Government Research Council, focusing on sustainable development. We have MISTRA, the Swedish Foundation for Strategic Environmental Research. But ironically, when there's such a strong bottom-up push driving the area, there might be a sense of fragmentation and lack of synchronization in the area. And on the whole, our efforts have not been coordinated in a very clear fashion so far. But to rectify this, we developed a new strategy for sustainable development that was adopted in 2019, and a very concrete action plan in the end of 2020. I think also sustainability as a concept is one that we discuss a lot, and from the start, it was very much focused on climate research only, but now it involves many other areas as well.
Okay, well, that's a very important point, because then it's about having a clear understanding or a common understanding of what sustainability science is. Adman, can I come to you?
Good morning, and thanks to be here. No, let me say that for our university sustainability, we have a very old sustainability action plan, is renewals every 5 years. So this is linked obviously to our university strategic plan. And that our sustainability action plan has 4 axes: community buildings, territory, investment, we are in a campus. So it means that most of these 4 axes has strategic lines, more than 70 actions. Most of them are obviously related to SDGs. We are, in terms of our community, we are working physical activity of people, food, emotional well-being, responsible and solidarity values. For buildings, obviously, energy, water, waste. For territory, this is quite important for us because we have a big extension in our campus. We are not in the city. So territory planning, mobility, agroforestry areas of our campus is specific topics that are very important in our action plan. And also transversal actions, communication, participation, in fact, green universities. So we say that all of our sustainability action plan is obviously linked to SDGs. So this is quite important for us.
Very good. And Thor, do you want to come in? We've heard a little bit from Anna Borg a little bit earlier about what it means for NTNU, what the sustainability goals mean. But how does that translate into your operations?
Thank you. But here together, also Erik mentioned that sustainability has a long tradition, not in Sweden, but also in many other countries, and particularly in Norway, because of the history back to the former Prime Minister Kumsal. It's also gone well with our regions and which the better work. But the last year, we have strengthened the focus on sustainability with trying to get common understanding of what sustainability science is about, and referring to the Global Sustainability Report from 2019. And we're also now focusing a lot on interdisciplinary research collaboration on system analysis on transformative changes related to sustainability. And of course, also to try to have systematic integration of sustainability in disciplines as part of the university, and of course also to reduce our own footprint.
All right, but since you have the floor, Thor, hold on a second. We've heard from today that Norway is doing so well at engaging in a collaboration with industry, right? So through the lens of SDG 7 around affordable and clean energy. But tell us, why do you think it matters so much to establish close ties with industry to deliver on sustainability?
This also quite all back in history that you have this university or the collaboration between corporate and university or academia. Also including independent research institutes like SINTEF in this survey. This has been going on for quite some time, of course, more than on a national perspective. It, of course, also has been important to do this on an international level, on an international arena. And I would say that also the energy sector has been important in this context towards the green transition, where you also have addressed more the cross-disciplinary and innovation within this partnership with corporate and academia.
All right, but so in an attempt of designing a model here that works in terms of collaboration with industry, what's the model here? What works? Is it so? You mentioned SINTEF. Has SINTEF been instrumental in establishing long-term and solid collaboration with large corporates?
I would say that the triangle between the research institutes, universities, and corporate has been working for a long time in a Norwegian funding system, and that you also have we have centers where the corporate also are partners in the center, not only supporting it financially, but also our partners in the centers. And we have quite a lot of history of co-funding, where the Research Council of Norway, together with the Norwegian industry, has funded research involving both the companies, the research institutes, and the academic institutions.
Thank you. So to the rest of the panel, well, in terms of partners and partnerships, so companies are very important, clearly. But how do you see that working? How important is it in for your own universities to have a close collaboration with companies, or for what it matters to other partners? Who wants to join? Armand.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we agree completely that private companies is important to be involved in our lines for all the SDGs and our research, and also for our teaching. But in our case, so we are focused also with other partners like city councils or regional authorities. So this means that we can build projects that can involve not only companies or industries that are in these areas, also these city council authorities are more involved, and actual strategic projects that we have for that are critical that we have these companions of the authorities of the region, and also from city councils, because our research is focused to solve problems of society, and obviously city areas are just the most kind of problems that we can solve are in that topic. So it means that we need, obviously, the involvement of these authorities. So this is, for us, the strategic line.
All right, so it's beyond, companies are important partners, but it's more than that. So I understand that in the case of our university, Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, it's also being very deeply embedded in an ecosystem. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, there is a strong general commitment of cooperation, I would say, on the Swedish arena, and definitely at Lund University as well. The companies want to interact with us and we with them. But not only the companies, but also other public sectors and non-governmental organizations. Perhaps if I should add a layer of nuance to this, a weak part so far is that certain sectors seem to engage with particular faculties. So the industry typically addresses the Faculty of Engineering. Social authorities, of course, interact with the Faculty of Social Sciences, but sustainability, I think the essence is the interdisciplinarity, which we will talk about later. And this requires new constellations, and we have to devise mechanisms to achieve that and to create such meeting arenas. So we've done one thing, the collaboration arena at Lund University, where we first start off strengthening our interdisciplinary interactions and then making the contacts to the outside companies, and but also strong connections with the municipalities in the region. So we have the first local advisory council for climate policy in Sweden was established in Lund, in fact, and it is populated by professors and researchers from Lund University. We also look at sharing economy, and this has a very strong academic standing at Lund University. It also creates strong interest by the city of Malmö and several funding bodies, national and the ERC. And many of our funding bodies require such partnerships, so this is also drives the formation of that, as in many other countries. Yeah.
All right, Signe, may I come to you on this question of collaboration between university and industry? Well, it's not a new question, right? But what the Commission has been working on very intensively in the last year is also making this ecosystem more attractive to private investors. So from a capital point of view, why does it matter, and how can we achieve that, attracting more private investors?
Now, first of all, what I'd like to mention that clearly what we've seen now as part of this panel discussion is that the universities, or the representatives of the universities that we have at this panel, have already done a lot. And clearly, when it comes to sustainability objectives, we know that the Nordic countries have already been very, very active for several years, and it doesn't come as a surprise that also the universities from these countries have been very, very active already for several years. Now, what we can do and how we can then promote this collaboration, and also the collaboration with the private sector, is via different instruments in Horizon Europe. Well, first of all, via the partnerships, because clearly these are the partnerships also with the private actors in different areas. Then, as we could see also from the presentation from SAV earlier, then the collaboration in the area related to cities is advanced, very advanced globally. Because we know that more and more people live in the cities, and clearly we also need to focus there. And clearly this collaboration is not only between the universities, the private sector, but also with the public sector and the communities. And this is also something which we can also use the Horizon missions for that purpose, and more specifically the cities mission, really in order to bring all actors together. But now, as you put the question, how we can also incentivize the private sector more. Now, the European Innovation Council certainly gives that possibility and that perspective, where it clearly brings all actors together in the ecosystem, and via clearly from its accelerator in the European Innovation Council, certainly also gives the possibility of the private sector to also to boost the funding of the SMEs, of the startup companies. And now we also have the much more flexible flexible tools in Horizon Europe, which we've already piloted during the last years of Horizon 2020, and we've seen that the blended financial tools of the EIC accelerator has become very, very attractive, and we have clearly the success stories not only for the companies coming from the EU member states, but also from several associated countries, and Norway, by the way, is not an exception there, but we also have very good other examples in that. So clearly, with Horizon Europe, these possibilities will be further enlarged.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to the question of interdisciplinarity, because both Armand and Eric have touched upon it. And in fact, we have a question from the audience, from Helge Battebø. Sorry if I misspelled your name, mispronounced your name. But would you like to go ahead and address a question to the panel?
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to address a question to very interesting that Lund University launched a new study and specific options recently. I also our sectors informed about. I'm really interested in when we know that you're succeeding in sustainability, building sustainability knowledge and competence. So knowledge through research and innovation, and competence, particularly students. This would require a growing concern on interdisciplinary understanding, interdisciplinary questions, how they are met, and system thinking understanding, meaning in order to cope with the complexity, understand the problems and how they can be addressed from different disciplines. So how do you ensure that these two characteristics are taken care of in your research and in your engagement across disciplines? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think now I'll start to talk a lot about disciplinarity. I think that's a good starting point for the next section. So thank you, Helga. You mentioned very important issues here that you have to think very strongly about, because although we have a long history of research in sustainability, we're actually stronger at disciplinary research rather than interdisciplinary. And I guess this is something that many recognize in different areas, because interdisciplinary work requires time, efforts, dedicated resources, but it's not on top of the agenda when it starts as to how to achieve scientific prestige. So we have to help there. So we did a few years ago start a new Agenda 2030 graduate school, And this has 17 PhD students covering all faculties. Of course, it's not a big number compared to all the graduates, postgraduate students that there are at Lund University, but it has received quite a lot of recognition. And as part of the syllabus, there are many interesting courses that are of wider interest. And I think with time, when we get a more nuanced and wider idea of what sustainability is, sustainability research, this will become even better. We're also thinking along the lines, going both to more earlier stages in the educational process at the undergraduate level, thinking about student innovation, using that concept for tackling complex questions like this. So bringing students with background in law, natural sciences, and so on, and give them a particular question and work on that. On the other hand, we also go to a slightly more senior level and at the associate professor level and think about launching a similar program. I think it grows both north-south and east-west, so to say.
All right. Thank you. Armand, you come in, and you've seen, and Tora as well, you've seen that, and I do take questions from the audience, so don't be shy. Don't hesitate to put your questions in the Q&A. So Armand first, and then Tora.
Yeah. Just only to underline some of the tools that we have developed in the last years at our university in order to improve and to increase interdisciplinarity. In fact, three major things that we have been doing. One is the creation of that we call the strategic research communities. So it means that we focus it in a particular topic. We put some experts working in that for administrative help to join different researchers around this topic. So we created that. This is this is not a building. This is just only to say we put a technique people working in a particular topic, that the mission and the goal is to join different research groups of our university around this topic. So we started that 4 or 5 years ago, and we put running 4 different strategic research communities. One is obviously about smart and sustainable cities. The other one is education and employability. Another one is for cultural heritage, and the last one is mental health. We plan to launch this next year, another one for artificial intelligence, another one for the topic of One Health. Obviously, these communities has been putting together people working in different disciplines around this topic. And also, we created in parallel that we call the UAB Open Labs. We have 2 open labs, design labs and digital labs, that are the spaces where people of different disciplines can work together in order to try to solve particular problems or particular research topics. So the last one is, in the particular for this SDG 11, is the creation of a particular research institute that is a building. In our case, is a institute that is working in all the topic around the environmental problems of the cities. And this research institute actually is for more than, we have in this institute running 5 or 6 big projects, European projects, European Research Council projects, and try to attract talent from around Europe working in research in this topic. So for us, this also at the student level, try to introduce SDGs, and in particular this SDG 11 in bachelor's degrees has been also a good tool. So we started 5 years ago putting these SDGs topics in different degrees, in education studies, in social education, in computer engineering, in aeronautics and others. And this also helps because there are some topics of teaching that has been related to other disciplines, and that helps to create this interdisciplinarity environment.
And we've heard from Federica earlier that there is indeed a very high level of interdisciplinarity observed across research on sustainable cities and communities, which is very core to what you're doing in Barcelona. Tor, you wanted to come in, and then Signe.
Yeah, I'll try to be short. I think it's by no means any disagreement that the interdisciplinary is a key to sustainability. And I think you already said quite a lot of things which I fully agree with. I think it's also very important that we address that it's not becoming a kind of a conflict with the priorities of the disciplines, so that they actually are able to work together. And as also pointed out here, it's important to start early on with education. And at NTNU, we have had something we call experts in team, where this is kind of an interdisciplinary approach that you're trying to solve problems, gathering people from, and the experts, in this case, it's the students from different study programs. And finally, I think it's also important to address the importance of innovation. I mean, the green transition is about innovation. So in a way, this has to be integrated in everything we do at the university level, or also for the sakes in the private or office or the public sector.
Very good. I'm picking up a few important words here and there from Eric, the student innovation, from Armand, the open labs, from Tor, the expert team. Signe, what are your takes?
Yeah, thanks. Well, first of all, what I'd like to say that the whole Horizon Europe program promotes interdisciplinarity. But just for the sake of brevity, let me just give a couple of examples. I already referred to Horizon Europe missions, and clearly missions is the major tool where we certainly promote interdisciplinary approach and also interdisciplinary teams. What I'd also like to highlight that what we are looking for is not only technological innovations, but also social innovations. Because we know that for the acceptability of the citizens of various technological solutions, we also need also first to engage with the citizens. That's why we promote citizen engagement across the whole program, but also social innovations, because these are typically bottom-up innovations where also the communities, the people, we can mobilize them in order to find the solutions which will be namely suitable for solving the solutions that we have in our society. And clearly we've seen under the currently during the pandemic also the usefulness of that approach. And if you've noticed, for instance, also in our Green Deal call, we have both social innovation and citizen engagement as part of that. But very often also we are asked, what about the role of socio-economic sciences and humanities? And also I'd like to highlight that Horizon Europe will include research topics where the program will encourage consortia, namely to create interdisciplinary teams. For instance, including sociologists, economists, anthropologists, and so on, in order to strengthen the links between research and implementation. And again, the missions would be a very good example here. For instance, when thinking about the mission of adapting to climate change, including societal transformation, we are looking also for behavioral changes and social aspects which will be addressed by new communities, and which in the end will help to lead to a societal transformation. Let's be clear, we are not able to achieve European Green Deal objectives without the support of the societies.
So, support of the society, engagement of citizens is very important. My takeaways from the Elsevier presentation is that sustainability cannot be tackled by European universities in isolation. So collaboration with the rest of the world is very important. So Eric, I'll go back to you because Lund University was named in the presentation as a case in point in terms of successful international collaboration. So yeah, the question for you is really, what has been your strategy leading to this fruitful collaboration with other parts of the globe?
I think to start with, I have to be honest, there was no clear strategy first, simply other than that we have many excellent colleagues who are willing to engage in international collaborations. But then later on, strategic plans have caught up, and it is definitely something that is very much supported and encouraged. And everyone knows that science is a global affair. You can't just work with the ones next door. You have to engage globally. Definitely so when it comes to climate research and several many other areas as well. Of course, the funding strategy that many funders require collaborations, and this provides a good backdrop to developing the international collaborations. Many researchers have also been involved in the intergovernmental panel on climate change as authors and lead authors, from many faculties, natural sciences, engineering, and social sciences. And this taken together has led to a very strong international focus then. So I think the key here is really when it started to involve many different areas and as such a more complex attack on the topic, then it started to be really an international affair.
Very good. What about the others? Signe, I'll come to you in a second because I want to, of course, to understand what is going to be the Commission's strategy in the area. But what about you, Armand and Tor? What do you think could be, if we, in an attempt of designing inclusive models for enhancing this international collaboration? Armand first.
Okay. Well, let me say that, in fact, internationalization of collaborations is critical for all the progress of our research, in terms that we think that the first step probably has been, this is the experience of our university, for groups that are strongly involved in PhD programs, international PhD programs or postdoc programs. In our case, for example, ITN's Marie Curie programs has been critical in order to launch this international collaboration. It's true at European level, like cost actions, for example. So we have been helping our scientists to be more and more involved in this kind of actions. European joint doctorates, I think that this is quite important also, because it means that we are building a PhD thesis in co-tutel agreements with other universities. And when you do that, you build a strong collaboration between different research groups of different universities. So I think that the way to promote this international collaboration, you can use internal outputs, measuring what group of your university are more involved in that actions, and try to help them at different levels. So we recognize these kind of activities in the teaching duties of our professors, and also with some money that can help to promote these initiatives.
Very good. Tor.
Just to follow on the same lines, I think if you start international collaboration, is nothing new in science, as Erik said, and it's kind of the part of the game here. But I think the most important thing is to think a little bit more towards international collaboration in a more systematic and strategic manner, as pointed out by Armand and Erik.
Very good. Signe, I'll come to you. I'd like us to take a question from the audience because you said it's going to lead to a good comprehensive answer. So, Mohammed, please, we'll let him, yes, yes, Mohammed. If you unmute yourself, you can ask your question. We can't hear you. Yes, we can. Go ahead. Yes, we can. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, sorry. All right, Mohammed, thank you. The sound is not good enough, so I've got a question. I'm going to read it out. All right. So your question was, Europe, is there any plan to collaborate with talents around the world, especially from African countries, to help them conducting their research? And so as a follow-up to that, the question is, it's not a question. Signe, you see where I'm going. We've heard about quite a few countries looking at the door to join Horizon Europe, even in the days of Carlos Moedas. So what is going to be the strategy from the European Commission to raise its game in terms of engaging small countries around the world?
Well, many thanks. Well, first of all, I already mentioned the association policy, clearly, which now aims at broadening well, actually to opening the door much more than I've done before, namely that in addition to the neighboring countries who are already part of our Horizon program, now we open to the door also to the countries further away. But certainly we will also continue to collaborate globally with countries which are not part of our program. And when it comes to the African countries, then also because they can also be financed from Horizon program, because that's for the low and the possibility for low and middle income countries. The research organizations who come from these countries can actually be financed from the program. And certainly when it comes to Africa, we have very also the strategic approach for the collaboration with them, which has been also reflected in various communications, and clearly the climate change, the access to water, access to food, just to mention some of the areas where we focus. And now we also have the new collaboration innovation, namely collaboration innovation. But more broadly, now what we are now in the process of also preparing a global strategy for research and innovation collaboration, but not only, but also for the collaboration in the area of education, in the area of youth, that is to say, for all the areas that are covered in the Commission by Commissioner Maria Gabriel. And we expect that this application will be ready by April, and so then this will also reflect namely the strategic approach for our collaboration globally. But as I said, the Horizon Europe program will continue to be open to the world and certainly promote collaboration globally. And looking now also reminding the graphs that we saw from Elsevier's presentation. Well, Africa was there. Also, you remember the US was there, China was there. And also, we have the modes of collaboration with all these countries and different areas of the globe.
Very good. Thank you, Signe. It's actually going to be the end of the web for this panel that we have to wrap up, unfortunately. There is plenty more to discuss, but I'd like to thank the four of you very much. We are now going to take a small break, and we'll be back at 11:45 for the second session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.